Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Movie Deputy Reviews, where we go deep into interrogating movies for their plot and content to really kind of help bring things to you in a somewhat unconventional sort of way. I know that probably sounds really weird, but I mean, it's true. I tend to look at things a little bit differently, especially than most critics, and I'm really good at pissing off Hollywood, so I'm doing something right. But, and you know what? You know what's really difficult for me sometimes is I've kind of shared a little bit of my health journey with you guys, and I'll share more as time goes on. But when I've been away from this microphone and away from my office for a few days, even if it's just for a few days, it's like I sit here and it's like I get the nerves all over again. I don't care how many times I do this. It's like my stomach is just in butterflies, and I don't script anything. I just kind of take it just off the cuff and roll with it. And so I know, and I know I normally don't bring you a show on a Sunday, but this is one that, especially with the topic of this one, that I wanted to bring this to you. I thought this was important to bring to you even before Monday. And don't worry, I'm going to have some reviews for you. We're getting ready to go on a little trip. So I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm actually going to record ahead a little ways. So please forgive me if I do miss some of the goings on some of that stuff, but I'm going to be recording a little bit of ahead so that I can get ahead of things a little bit before we go, both for health and wellness. I guess you can say this trip is for, but it's just going to be a nice little getaway. And big thank you in advance to my sister and our son, who are going to be taking care of our 7 little kitty cats. They're not so little, but I mean, if you don't know already, I'm a crazy cat lady. You've got 7 fur babies who are all my official Movie Deputy mascots. But the movie that we're talking about today doesn't have anything to do with kitty cats, unfortunately. Not all movies have involved kitties. Unfortunately, not all movies are nice to kitties either, but that's a whole other story. But the one that we're going to be talking about today is another movie coined after it was done. This one is relevant. That's an understatement for this movie. I don't know if you've ever heard of Matt Walsh. Now, I'm not talking about the guy in America's Most Wanted or anything like that. Totally wrong guy. I'm talking about Matt Walsh from Daily Wire. If you are not familiar with who he is, maybe you're familiar with another one of his big movies that was big a couple years ago. And what is that? It was titled, What is a Woman? And that one sparked a little bit of controversy, just a little bit, but I think it was in a good way. I actually have to watch that one yet, so I hate to admit that, but I actually have yet to watch that one. I've seen a lot of clips of it online, but I have yet to watch it. But with the one we are talking about today is his new movie, Am I Racist? No. Don't go anywhere. Stick with me. This one's worth it. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on this, just give me the benefit of the doubt and stick it out with me, because if you have been a long-time listener, or if this is your first time here, I just like to let people know I am a constitutional conservative, but I always used to, when I would write the reviews and put them on moviedeputy.com, I would always try to stay really neutral on them. And since I have started the podcast, as you've probably noticed, unless this is your first time here, is I tend not to be quite as neutral. But this movie was done in such a way it honestly appeals to both sides, but in different ways. And that's why I want to say, stick with me and stick it out, regardless of your beliefs on this matter, because there are some really important, fundamental things going on in this movie that just really show the spotlight on some things. And some people will say that certain things are a problem. Other people are going to say other things are a problem. But the way that he addresses them is he gives everyone a voice. And it very much reminds me of like what Dinesh D'Souza does in a lot of his movies, where he makes it a point to just talk straight about history and just present the facts, but he also gives both sides a voice. But he does it in such a way that it tries to help wake people up. He doesn't try to knock people down for their beliefs. And Matt is very much the same way in the way he approaches this. And so that's a very important thing to touch on. But you're probably wondering, okay, guilty, innocent, this movie I'm definitely giving a guilty rating to, just because Some of the subjects and stuff that are addressed in here are definitely not for younger audiences. But if you choose to let your younger children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, etc., watch this, that's completely up to you. But I at least try to put that out there as a disclaimer. Now, score-wise, I'm going to make you sit on this for a little bit as we go through the movie, and then I will tell you what the score is, because I actually might surprise you with where I went with the score on this. So now, mind you, I stayed true to the Movie Deputy rating scale. If you are not familiar with the Movie Deputy rating scale, you can go to moviedeputy.com and click on our About page, and that will have the full description of our rating scale. It is a rating scale unique to Movie Deputy that I created myself. And so it's a little bit different than other rating scales that you might find, and the scores definitely differ from other things that you might find elsewhere. But getting into this, okay, one of the first things we see is Matt. He's trying to go and he's trying to attend a workshop on how to be less white. Now, as you can imagine where that's already going. But he's recognized pretty instantly, and it causes a stir. So he decides, okay, if I'm going to really kind of go deeper into this, he's got to change himself up so he's not as easily recognized, because he's a well-recognized public figure. So he has to do something to not necessarily be as easily recognized, to really kind of dive a little bit deeper into this. So he doesn't make any drastic changes, but he definitely makes enough changes that he's not so easily recognized. Now, mind you, he's not doing this to try to trick people. I know where people are going to go with that. And I know I can already read that, like, I can imagine the emails already. But the whole thing is not about being deceptive. He is trying to really go in depth and try to figure out what people are thinking and why they're thinking it. And that is such a unique approach, because it's like we see so many documentaries done by quote unquote Hollywood experts, and they're always severely leaning one way. No, mind you, I'm not going to say that this doesn't lean right. I'm not saying that at all, because, I mean, if you're familiar with Daily Wire, if you're familiar with Matt Walsh, I mean, it's a very conservative website and conservative page, conservative products. But I love that he gives everybody a voice here. But so as he changes into this persona, and mind you, he still uses his name. He doesn't start out using his name, but he ends up using his name, and he's going through all of this, and he's being engulfed in this whole thing of grieving white privilege, what white entitlement is, what white supremacy is, how to abolish whiteness. Now, mind you, I'm not just pulling these out of the top of my head. I mean, these are actual things that are in this movie. And if you've got any amount of common sense, this movie is going to upset you. But I think that's kind of the point. This movie is meant to be informative. This documentary is meant to be informative. It's not meant to just be entertaining. You're supposed to take something away from this. And so he's going to these classes, and he's meeting with these people of different colors and different races, different ethnicities. And it's all about how being a white male is about the worst thing that you could possibly be. And he keeps just getting this shoved down his throat time and time and time and time and time and time and time. And yeah, if you think that's annoying, you can imagine how this is getting shoved down his throat in this movie. Just the fact that he is a white male and he's trying to take something away from these interviews and these things. And he's pointing out the absolute hypocrisy in some of their points and some of their things. And just these random things in society and in the media and in the news, and just these random people who just experience just random things in life, and they have to associate some form of racism with something where there's no racism to associate it with, and fake hate crimes. And mind you, he does address the real hate crimes too, but the whole epidemic of that is addressed as well. And mind you, this is not just being addressed from a white male's point of view, because I can imagine what you may be thinking, especially if you're on the opposite side of this. He is going further, and he's asking the real questions, and he's asking the real people. I mean, he's interviewing people like Robin DiAngelo and Kate Slater and all of these other people. But even before he begins this process, he takes an online course and becomes a certified DEI expert. If you are not familiar with what DEI is, you've probably been hearing it in the news, but you may not know what it stands for. In the movie, it explains that it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think it's diversity, equality, and inclusion, I believe. So I'm not sure if the documentary just misspoke or if I'm wrong on that. Either way, but it's that whole thing. But he's like, yeah, I'm a DEI expert. I'm a card-carrying DEI expert. I'm a DEI expert. He pulls out this card, and it becomes almost humorous. And now, mind you, this is not supposed to be funny. This is not supposed to be just... It's supposed to be entertaining, but it's not supposed to be funny. And he really brings it all to the surface here. Now, he goes so far, because he's in these big cities, and he's interviewing these people. But he goes so far as to go into the deep South. Now, if you're going to think about racism, what's the one part of the country that you're going to think about? You're going to think of the deep South. And he even goes so far as to go down there and he's talking to people. And what he finds out is surprising. And it's going to be surprising to many people. And it really kind of makes you question things in your own thing. It's like, okay, how have I looked at this? Am I looking at this right? Now, mind you, it's not to shame anybody. Oh, of course, there's people in the movie that are trying to shame people, obviously, with the fact that abolish your own whiteness and to decolonize yourself, and that they keep beating into you throughout the movie that America is racist to its bones. Now, mind you, Matt's not doing this, but all of the people that he's interacting with, and it's infuriating. I mean, at times it's like I could feel like my body tensing up while I'm watching this. Is like, what in the world are they doing? And why? But I understand why, because this needs to be addressed, and this needs to be just faced head on. This is a problem, but not in the way you might think. The problem is extremism is the problem. I mean, plain and simple, extremism is the problem. So if you are looking for something that is entertaining and infuriating, it's pulse pounding and just provocative in so many different ways, but in a way that just feels, like the guy said at the movie the other night, it feels relevant in so many ways. And like I said, there's going to be something that both sides are going to take away from this. And so you're probably wondering score-wise where I ended up with this one. I know I'm running a little bit long, so I apologize. But score-wise, I am giving Am I Racist a 7.5 out of 10 on the deputy scale. I was debating low 8s, but just because some of the topics that are being addressed here are so widely controversial and in both ways, that it's just, I feel that it's an excellent title. This is one that I think everybody should see. They should show, I mean, we keep talking about the indoctrination of schools and everything like this. Something like these documentaries need to be shown in school. Yes, I'm giving this a guilty rating, but it's like there is absolutely no reason that this could not be in a high school civics class. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever, except the fact that the schools would never allow it. I mean, seriously. But so that's why I ended up with where I was on the score. It's like there's so much to take away from something like this. You know me, I never give spoilers. There's specific things I want to bring up and I want to touch on, but I'm like going, okay, if I bring that up, technically that's just going to be a pretty major spoiler, a part of this story. But if you haven't already done so, I don't get anything. I don't have any affiliation with Daily Wire directly, so I'm not getting anything by directing you to do this, but go sign up for Daily Wire and watch this, or go online. I don't even know where you can stream this yet, or if you can, but check this out. Watch this. Invite friends and family of even differing opinions to sit down and watch this with you, because there's definitely going to be something that you can take away. And be sure to come back. I'm going to be back, like I said, this week, and hopefully I'm going to have enough to record into the following week and maybe even a little bit further. of some different reviews. And I know I promised Beetlejuice, and the old Beetlejuice, and I'm going to be bringing those to you over the next couple days, so be sure to come back. And as always, you know which buttons to push, so you always get the latest and greatest Movie Deputy content. And if you don't, it's like, subscribe, and share. So we are on all podcast platforms and, of course, YouTube. So I can't wait to talk to you again, and I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.